Hey, Pascal here, nice to see you again on my channel, and today I want to talk or give a short review of the Sigma 18 to 35mm F1.8 lens together with the Viltrox speed booster on the Panasonic GH5. And I just arrived here in Chiang Mai, had a quick flight, and I will just stay here for a day to fly to Bali tomorrow because I booked a flight before and so on, so it doesn't really make sense to fly from Bangkok to Chiang Mai and then to Bali. But yeah, like if you book before and you're not sure if you stay in Bangkok or not, then yeah, it happens. And yeah, but let's use this day to get some shots with this lens. I will also put in some shots of Cambodia with this lens here so that you can see a bit more on how it performs. And I actually want to give this review of the perspective of a travel filmmaker because, well, it's about travel filmmaking here. So yeah, let's find out if it's good for traveling as well or if it's absolutely not usable. Okay, I'm on my way to a motorbike rental shop now. My favorite one, also stay at my favorite place. It's Chiang Mai P Place here. That's a pretty nice one, but I would not recommend right now to go here because the complete city is totally polluted because farmers are burning their fields. It's always crazy in February and March here. I hope it gets better soon, but I will just stay a day, so that's fine. And yeah, let's talk about the lens. I'm actually vlogging with that right now. It's so heavy. Actually, I have to switch my hands. So that's why actually I wouldn't say that this is a travel lens, even if I use it for travel videography right now. And that's simply because the lens is so heavy. Together with the Viltrox speed booster, it weighs over 1 kilo, so it actually weighs more than the Panasonic GH5, and it's also quite big. So it's definitely not a vlogging lens, but I still like to use it for traveling simply because of the quality and to get used to the weight, at least in normal shots, not in vlogging, relatively fast. So when I was in Cambodia, then I used it for around 2 days, and after that I did not really recognize the weight anymore, so I got used to it. Of course not for vlogging, but for like normal B-roll shots, and yeah, it works extremely good. The quality is good. And when I put on my other native Micro Four Thirds lenses again after that, I felt like, oh, what is that? It's too light. It didn't feel quality anymore for me. So I actually would say that the weight is okay because you get used to that fast, but don't buy it as a vlogging lens. But there's also a good thing about the weight of the lens, and that is simply that when you have a heavier camera setup, that it shakes less. So this lens doesn't have an inbuilt stabilization, but the GH5 of course has the IBIS, so that's pretty good. So you still get very stable footage, and because of the weight of the lens, it's even more stable than it would be if the lens would be very lightweight. So it's not too bad even if the lens is very heavy. It can actually be also an advantage. And my tip here is definitely to grab the camera more where the focus ring is, simply because when you grab it there, then there is more space between your hand that holds the camera and the hand that holds the lens, so you have it even more stabilized, so you can get less shake in that direction, and that really helps a lot. Okay, so much for the outside of the lens, like the obvious stuff. It's pretty heavy, but you get used to that pretty fast. But what I also want to mention here is that the build quality is also very good. It's probably one of the best, the highest quality Sigma lenses. That's absolutely cool. But yeah, let's also talk about the inside. So how is the actual quality of the lens? Because that's actually amazing. The quality of the footage that you get from that lens is really cool. So with the speed booster, the Viltrox on the GH5, it equals around a 25 to 50mm lens. And when you use this 4K crop feature of the GH5, this X digital zoom, or however it's called, X tele functionality, then it also crops in so that you have around a 70mm look. So that's really cool. But Apart from that, you also get an F1.2 Aperture on the GH5 using the speed booster, and that's incredible because you really have this kind of full frame look, and that's what really makes this lens. Like, I mean, usually when you use native Micro Four Thirds lenses, you usually have an f-stop between 1.7 to 3.5, with zoom lenses usually more like up to 6.3, and that really sucks because it doesn't really have a good look. And with the f1.2 you get such a nice bokeh effect. It equals an f2.4 on a full frame camera, and that just makes it look a lot better. But of course with that also comes a problem, and that is simply that you need to focus, and the autofocus of that lens is really complicated because, well, it's just a speed booster at the end that delivers a signal to the GH5. It's not a Micro Four Thirds or a native lens, and so the problem here is really that when you focus, it's like 80% of the times it gets the focus of the subject, but it takes a lot of time, and sometimes it completely doesn't get it, and in that case you have to focus manually. I made a video about it, how I focus on the GH5, so I do it exactly the same way on the lens, just pressing the AF on button and then it switches to manual again. But what this lens did was that it really forced me more to actually use manual focus, to actually turn the ring, and that is really good actually on that lens, because it's not like this plastic on plastic feeling that I have with my Panasonic lenses. It feels really high quality. You can really feel that there's a motor inside that's like turning the lens, so that's great. And I figured out that I use the manual focus a lot. Like, I'm really turning the ring when I want to make a focus transition, for example, or when I focus on an object, because I can control the focus a lot better then, and then I sometimes get looks that I would never get with an autofocus. For example, there's this shot here from a market in Cambodia, and you see that actually the person that I'm filming there, the motorbike driver, is a bit farther away from me, but you can still see that in the background it's totally blurry, and it slightly fades over from this person into the blurry part of the image, and that looks so great. I think I would never get this look with another lens, or especially not when I use autofocus. So I must actually say, like, the autofocus is not bad, like, it's usable, but you shouldn't expect too much, especially if you want to vlog. And I mean, it's not a vlogging lens, it's just too heavy even if I do it right now, but especially if you want to vlog, then it could be complicated because a lot of people want to use autofocus. Then I don't use autofocus, I just set the manual focus before. That's also why I don't have focus hunting, and that works pretty good. So it's already morning. I will go to the airport soon and fly to Bali, but I want to mention one more thing regarding the quality. Of course, we talked about the full frame look, and the build quality is also quite nice of that lens. But also, like, the bokeh itself, like how the background blur looks and so on, is very nice, especially if you get some lights in there, some reflections or so on. Like, it looks really nice. It's not just this full frame look that you have a lot of background blur, it's actually that the blur itself also gives a very nice look from that lens. So just want to mention that here as well. So let's come to a conclusion regarding travel. I would say it's usable for travel if you are okay with, like, having a bit heavier lens, because it's definitely heavy. It's just not a lightweight lens. But like mentioned before, you get used to that very good. So if it's not that much of an issue for you, then I can definitely recommend this lens also for traveling, simply because the quality is so nice. And if you're willing to have a bit heavier lens, but therefore the best quality, then this is definitely the lens for you. Also, the Viltrox speed booster works very good. I had to adjust it a little bit, like you can turn it. There are some tutorials on YouTube how to do it, and then you also get your infinite focus, and it's also a lot easier to do autofocus with the GH5, I figured out. Yeah, and apart from that, it's a great setup and delivers really a perfect quality. So if you really want to have the best quality for your videos, if you want to have this full frame look, then get the Sigma 18-35 f1.2 lens, f1.8, it's f1.2 on the GH5 later. And yeah, enjoy it with that. That's it here, and yeah, we'll go to the airport now and then see you in the next videos on Bali.